Phenomenal cosmic power. Shitty lighting. Let's do this. Hi guys, I'm Julia and welcome to my channel Shakespeare and Such. This is the second video I'm filming and it hasn't gotten any less weird to talk to a camera. Alright, so today I wanted to talk about the readathon that I recently completed, and by completed I mean did not finish, but participated in. That's what counts. It's trying. So I recently did the Pokemon Indigo League Read-Them-All-a-thon, which was hosted by Read at Midnight, and I wanted to talk to you guys about how it went, because I had some great books and some very not great books. Let us discuss. I will go in order. I can't talk today. So I'm going to go in order of the badges as they were, and this is not actually the order that I read the books in, but I will also mention the books that I intended to read, didn't get to. So first up was Pewter City, which is the Boulder badge, and the challenge was to read the first book in a series. So I picked up from the library Juliet Immortal by Stacey J. This book was weird. As you can tell by the title of my channel, I really like Shakespeare a lot. So it's kind of a double-edged sword in that I'm really interested in adaptations and sort of retellings of Shakespeare, but I'm also a lot more critical of them. And in this case, I'm sorry, Stacey J, just wasn't working for me. The concept is really interesting. The basic premise of the story is that Juliet and Romeo are immortal, but what happened was that Romeo killed Juliet after their wedding night in exchange for immortality, and then the nurse, who's like her guardian, I guess, gave Juliet the ability to live as well. And so now he is on the dark side. Romeo works with the mercenaries, and Juliet is kind of the good side, and she works for the ambassadors. I don't understand these two names, by the way. I think they're so generic. And basically, it's her job to get soulmates on Earth united and make that true love happen, and Romeo is trying to keep them apart and prevent her mission. I found this book, okay, I'll be real, I read it in like 2 days, so it's readable, it's interesting, but I just found it really inconsistent and at times really predictable. I have a full review for it on Goodreads, so you can look there. My link will be in the description below. But it is just kind of a hot mess. I'm sorry. There were some things that just, oh, that reflection. There were just things that I thought could have been dealt with more creatively, and I thought that the fantasy elements that were incorporated were just kind of half-baked and not really fleshed out the way they should have been, because I questioned a lot that happened. So I think overall I ended up giving this like 2.5 stars. Not a great start, but I did read it quickly. So maybe if you're looking for something really light and easy, this could be the way to go. Not light. It's super dark in theme. There's some really like grotesque descriptions happening in here. But it's interesting. Let's move on. So next was Vermillion City, Cascade badge. Read a book that might make you cry. Oh, this book made me cry, alright. Just wait for it. The Hunt by Megan Shepherd. Nobody talks about this series, and it like destroys my soul. This is the sequel to the first book in the trilogy, which is called The Cage, and it is essentially a sci-fi series about a group of teenagers that have been abducted by aliens, taken to not another planet because they're like an astral species. Is that the correct term? They don't live like on land, they live like in the stars. It's really hard to describe this book without going into spoilers for the first, but just know that it has an amazing cast of characters that I love so much. Like literally, the teenagers in this book are all my children. I have adopted them and I love them and I want to look out for them so much. So yeah, really give this a try. Not this, start with The Cage. That's the first book. And also, can I give a quick shout out to how beautiful this white hardcover, oh, it's beautiful. And I really enjoy Megan Shepherd's writing. This book I loved almost as much as the first. I just, like, aliens aren't even my thing, but I love this series, so definitely give this a try. I gave this 4.75 out of 5 stars, so really loved it. I also have a full review of this on Goodreads as well if you want to check that out, but there are spoilers in it, but I marked them. The next stop on the Poke Tour was Vermillion City, Thunder Badge, read a book with thunderous hype. I was going to read The Girls by Emma Cline. I did not get to this. It's still on my bookshelf. Time will tell. And then Celadon City. I don't know anything about Pokemon, so I don't know if I'm saying this right. Rainbow Badge, read a book featuring diversity. Again, I was going to read Lies We Tell Ourselves by Robin Talley. Didn't get to that either. I'm also looking forward to reading that eventually. Fuchsia City is the Soul Badge. Read a book with epic romance. This book I started and I'm nowhere near finishing, but it's a classic. Pride and Prejudice. I mean, what about Pride and Prejudice does not say epic romance, right? Though honestly, I love Jane and Bingley even more than Elizabeth and Darcy. Unpopular opinion, whoa. Yeah, I have not gotten very far in this, but I do plan on continuing and ideally finishing this in the month of September. So let's move on. The next badge was Saffron City, Marsh Badge. Read a book with fantasy or supernatural elements. After reading this, I realized this is kind of more sci-fi. But at the time, I thought it had supernatural or fantasy elements, so we're going to roll with it. I read Paper Girls Volume 1 by Brian, what's his name? Brian K. Vaughan, Cliff Chiang, Matt Wilson, and Jared K. Fletcher. Nailed it. This was super cool. I don't read a lot of graphic novels, but the art style, I mean, like, if you look at the cover and you go, I think that looks cool, all of the inside looks like this. Like, the coloring is just beautiful. Ugh, what can I show you that isn't spoilery? Not very much. I can't show you any of this. But I love the art style. I don't really understand the story, but that being said, I like it and I want volume 2 very badly. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really cool and really good to look at, and I read it all in virtually one sitting, so there we go. The next badge / city / book, what is this pose I'm doing, was Cinnabar Island, Flame Badge. Read a book with a red cover. I chose The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh because everyone loves this book. I thought this book was okay. I just struggled a lot with the premise. Not the premise, but Shahrazad as a character, because for those of you who don't know what this is about, The Wrath and the Dawn is a retelling of 1001 Nights, and essentially the main character, Shahrazad, volunteers to marry the Caliph, which is like the king, because he has been killing his brides one by one. Like, he marries, he kills her before dawn, marries again the next day, etc. And so after her friend gets killed, Scheherazade says, well, I'm going to volunteer to marry him and I'm going to kill him. She went in with no plan at all, and theoretically only had one day to kill him. So, you'd think you would plan that a little bit. I can't get into this because it'll be a really long video. Maybe I'll make a rant about this book, or you can read my really long, excessive almost, Goodreads review, again in the link below. Essentially, the only thing that kept me going through this book was wondering where it was going to end up, and also Jalal. He was everything. I may eventually pick up the second book since it's only a duology and I don't have to worry about getting sucked into this whole thing. But more likely I will just pick up the short story about Jalal and Despina. Is that how you say her name? Because that's really what I'm here for. So, goodbye. Vermillion City's Earth Badge. Read a book with post-apocalyptic settings. I have nothing to hold up because I listened to an audiobook, but I listened to Vivian Apple at the End of the World, and this book was so good, you guys. I loved it. I gave it, I don't know what I gave it. I surely gave it 5 stars. Yes, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Why wouldn't I? I just said how much I loved it. The basic premise of Vivian Apple is that I can't form a sentence. I loved this book so much. Essentially, it is sort of a contemporary, like almost a religious satire. I can't talk. It's about this religion, the Church of America, who has sort of dominated the country, and there is a predicted apocalypse and a predicted rapture, and what happens is, very early in the book, Vivian's parents, who are both believers of the Book of Frick, both go missing, and she is like, because she was not a believer, so she's very disturbed to find her parents missing, and well, no spoilers, she essentially goes on a trip to find out what happened to her parents, find out the truth, and the whole book was phenomenal. I loved the writing. The dialogue was like so fresh and fun and real. I loved all of the characters. I love Vivian. I love her best friend. I love the romantic interest who's involved in this book. Spoilers? I don't know. I loved, like, there were minor characters who showed up for a couple chapters who I adored. So, yeah, it's just really good. And the story is so interesting. I could not stop listening. I'm currently listening to the sequel. It's just a duology. There's only the 2 books. And the second one is Vivian Apple Needs a Miracle. So yeah, that's how the readathon went for me. It was pretty fun, even though I don't really care about Pokemon. And I do think it helped me with my motivation for reading, because I was like, this is right before I go back to school. It'll be perfect. I'll just power through a couple extra books, get ahead on my Goodreads goal, which I'm very far ahead of, so I'm in good shape for the year. And yeah, I don't know, it was fun. This is only the second readathon I've ever done, both of which being this year, so I really loved doing that. Yeah, let me know if you have read any of these books, or if you want to know more about them, because I love to talk about them. I will probably, after I finish the sequel, I'm probably going to do a series review on Vivian Apple, because I'm really, 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 really loving that series. And I think that's it. Alright. Let's play a game called How Many Times Will My Lighting Change in This Video? Go ahead, take a guess right now, because I know I'll be wrong. I cannot talk about Pokemon. Oh, and then Vermillion City, Earth Badge. Read a book with a post-apocalyptic Juliet Immortal.